Use communication systems. In this competency, you will learn the following. Identify system features. Communicate using communications technology. Maintain communication equipment operational status. Complete documentation. Identify system features. Regardless of your role in the security industry, your workplace will have a communication system or systems that you will need to be familiar with. These may include fixed phone systems, mobile phones, radios, and PA systems. You must identify all control functions of your required systems. Depending on the system in place, you'll need to monitor battery and signal levels of all equipment in use. All portable devices should be charged regularly and systematically to avoid them running out during the course of a shift. If there is a problem with the signal, you'll need to perform checks to determine the source and resolve the issue. This could be as simple as restarting the device or sending the device to the manufacturer for repair. The two-way radio or walkie-talkie is the main piece of communication equipment for security personnel. The two-way radio had the following functions. 1. An on-off switch that is sometimes incorporated into the volume control. 2. Channel selector. Always ascertain the correct operating channel and set it accordingly. 3. Volume control. Try to set it initially at about the midpoint. 4. Squelch control. Most radios now have this feature set automatically. To set a manual control, turn the dial until background noise is heard. Adjust the control unit until this noise is barely audible. This is the correct setting. 5. Conduct a test call to base and adjust the volume accordingly. Before leaving the security base, check the following. The radio is on. The radio is on the correct channel. The volume is turned up. The radio is working. Two-way radios and other communication devices can operate on different channels. The nature of the information you are communicating will determine the channel or equipment used. For example, general information relevant to all members of staff would be on a channel that all devices are tuned, whereas security-sensitive information would be on a private channel or communicated via a telephone. Communicate using communications technology. Ensure you are operating on the correct channel. Prior to leaving the radio issue area, make a test call to check that both transmission and reception are functioning correctly. Distortion occurs if the transmitter is held too close to the mouth or if a message is shouted. When holding the transmitter to speak, the point of your outstretched thumb should be touching your chin. This is about the correct distance for speaking at a normal volume. Speak a little more slowly than normal speech. Operate the speak switch for 1 second prior to speaking and hold it operated for 1 second after you have finished speaking. Failure to do this will usually result in the first and last words you say not being transmitted. Always listen for a short time before transmitting a message. This will ensure that you do not cut off or break into another transmission. Generally, think about the message that is to be sent before you commence. Who's it directed to? What do I need to say? And what is the best way to say it for clarity? The essentials are accuracy, brevity, and speed. If you expect to receive some form of direction, be prepared to make written notes before you commence. Do not communicate security-sensitive information over the radio. Most radio channels are available to anyone who can tune a device to that frequency. For this, use a telephone and make sure you have a direct line. The channel selected to operate on will depend on the location and type of equipment. Some frequencies may not be available in certain areas or may not cover certain distances. Check the range of your equipment before using it in your workplace. All messages to be communicated should be done so clearly and precisely with due observation to ethics and protocols required by users. Your workplace may have certain language required when speaking through a radio system. You may be required to operate a PA system at your workplace. This is usually done from a microphone at the control center and transmit the message to speakers placed around the building and grounds. Do this according to the standard operational procedures and organizational standards. If you have any incoming messages, you will need to receive and answer these promptly and courteously using language appropriate to the communication device. For example, if you're answering an outside call from a telephone, you will need to use your organizational greeting and do your best to direct the call. In the event of an emergency, you may be required to operate several different types of communications devices. Emergency services will need to be contacted via telephone. You'll need to communicate the type of service required, the emergency, the address, the exact location of the emergency, contact details, and your name and role. You may also need to make an announcement via the PA system informing everyone of the emergency and activate the fire alarm. Be sure to do this in accordance with your workplace procedures. Received messages and information need to be interpreted and recorded using your organizational procedures. This may be done via telephone, fax, radio, PA system, or email. When taking a call, always take notes of the details, including the caller's name, contact details, and purpose for calling. All vocal communication must be clear, unambiguous, and follow the appropriate procedures, languages, and codes relevant to your workplace, form of communication, and equipment being used. Maintain communication equipment operational status. Troubleshooting. If you have no reception, check that the unit is on and set to an operational channel. Check that the battery is fitted where appropriate or the power source. Check that the volume is not set to minimum. Check the squelch to ensure it's operational. When there is no transmission, the set receives but does not transmit. Check the microphone lead is properly plugged in. Check the microphone lead for signs of damage. If the lead is faulty, disconnect the microphone lead on your portable and transmit on the portable direct transmitter. If you have good reception but faint transmission, then change the battery. This is applicable to portable radios. If you have static only on transmission, check or change the microphone lead. If these actions do not rectify your problem, change the radio and report the faulty unit to maintenance or your supervisor. You will either need to perform the repair yourself or send the faulty system back to the manufacturer for assessment. Complete documentation. Records of communication are to be documented and maintained according to your workplace procedures. These may include workplace communication procedures, protocols, instructions, and checklists. There may also be relevant codes of practice, legislation, regulations, and related documentation requirements. All documentation should be organized so records can easily be found when required. It should also be well presented so that it is legible to anyone who needs to read it.